all leads back to control. The government controls what we eat. They control what we think. They control what we feel. And then we wake up one day and be like, damn, I got...
But isn't that American dream? That American dream is because there's more people that live that type of fucking American reality. But isn't that American dream? That American dream is because there's more people that live that type of fucking American reality. But isn't that American dream? That American dream is because there's more people that live that type of fucking American reality.
Q9, my futon, hold it up and smoke it. Transgression of progression of a war we ain't asked for. Transgression of progression of a war we ain't asked for.
It's madness, yo. All the things that we could talk about.
Call it.
But let's talk about these urban circumstances real quick.
And basically it's the
we got this.
So
revolution.
Winner's frosty hand. Muhammad is the famed name, forever stand.
Standing on royal fusing of justice for the few, ridiculed by the pale terrorists bent on genocidal obsession, rooted in fear of neglection and abandonment, fueled by nightmares of ancestors' jealousy.
because at the end of the day, I still want to be able to I don't dislike George Washington.
The kind of friends I think all friends should be like my friends. My friends are the kind of friends I think everyone needs. My friends see the things at times I don't see. My friends hate the police.
What has changed?
Are deemed the criminals, and the blacks are deemed the criminals.
Shut up and help.
Reflection ain't nothing but the inner child trying to see you. You gonna look? You gonna pick up that book?
Lord, keep me far from the faith. Guide me through night and day. Teach me your ways. Show me the righteous way to sway. Lord, can you teach me, please? Show me the way, I'd say. Grand Risings, and welcome back to another episode of the Urban Conservative with Chaz Neal. We're excited to have you join us on this journey of thoughtful discourse and community engagement. The Urban Conservative is proudly sponsored by the Leon Block Network, an organization committed to promoting transparency, truth, and accountability in our media landscape. Here at the Urban Conservative, our mission remains steadfast, to bring you the latest news directly from the streets, addressing critical topics such as gun violence, crime, politics, and perhaps most importantly, exploring solutions to the profound challenges our communities face. As we embark on this third season, the focus is clear. It's time to actively contribute to the transformation of our communities for the better. How can we achieve this? The answer lies in a multifaceted approach that starts with reconnecting with our core family values, strengthening our sense of community is paramount, fostering bonds that transcend the barriers that often divide us. Moreover, it involves embracing our foundational roots. recognizing the historical and cultural threads that weave through the fabric of our society. In this season, we are calling for more than words. We seek action. It's a plea to move beyond mere rhetoric and engage in tangible, impactful initiatives that contribute to positive change. The time for empty words has passed. Now more than ever, we need to put our convictions into action. Together, united by a common purpose, we can make a substantial and lasting difference in the well-being of our communities. So join us on this journey as we explore not only challenges, but also opportunities for growth and progress. Together, let's turn our shared vision for stronger, safer, and more connected communities into a reality. Thank you for being a part of the Urban Conservative with Chaz Neal, a platform dedicated to fostering change and making positive impact on the world around us. Shut up and help. Man, good morning, man. It's Friday. Praise God, woke up this morning. It's always a blessing to, wake up and see another day, because a lot of people don't have that opportunity. And we should be grateful for that we're able to, see another day. Damn, where do we start off today, man? There's so many things that I want to get into, but I want to break this down a little bit by little bit. And I want to get into a few things. And then I really started this episode with the idea of talking about what happened yesterday in the Minnesota court, State Court, Supreme Court. And it was a decision that came down about Officer Lundgren and how Moriarty wanted to block from being able to see court stuff that was going on with, the Ricky Cobb case. But then it was, I got up and I got into a Twitter space, was listening, and I got up on the space, and thank you, 27K. I want to say this because I'm learning in this, you know what I'm saying? And I'm learning how to educate, and I'm learning how do I collaborate collectively with others that, think like-minded, because I didn't know about Twitter until, I knew about Twitter, but I didn't even have a profile until 2021. And so I'm kind of behind. The same thing with Clubhouse. I thought Clubhouse was, people got in there, was talking entertainment stuff, Hollywood, rapping bullshit, the beefs and all that. I didn't know there was some deep, in-depth conversations, and people were networking, and maybe I might not agree with everything, but it's nice to see that there is different movements out there that started on different platforms. And then I sit there and I think about, damn, how can we get that all to work like that glove of how the government works, right? Of how everything works around us, is because if you think about it, it's like a glove, right? Because you have public safety, you have politics, you have the schools, healthcare, judicial, everything is this, it all connects together, because you can't deal with one without dealing without the other. And anything that you deal with, you always have to deal with the other. But I got into this space this morning, and it's like I said again, shout out to 27K. But listening, and it's great conversation going on this morning, because they were talking about lineage, and I kind of feel like both parties delineate us, for the simple fact I don't think we've ever actually had, recently, any true Black leaders that were about Black segregation and that were focused just on the Black community itself, that get into politics. And I start to think about, because I see this movement behind, Make America Red Again. And I'm over here thinking, like, what the fuck? Like, when has politics have ever helped Black people? Ever, regardless if it was Democrats or Republicans. Because until we can believe in ourselves, because how is it we're going to help ourselves getting behind somebody else? I will never understand that. And that's why I really want to have intellectual conversations, and that's why I've been really quiet in these spaces, and I've even kind of distanced myself from, candidates, and not because I don't support them, but because I wanted to see of how I can maneuver conversations and then to get people to think outside of Republican Democrat, right? And that's why I've been tagging Andy Williams a lot lately in these Twitter spaces when it comes to talking about Democrat and Republican, for the simple fact of I want people to see that both sides are a totalitarian machine, that they have an agenda that benefits them. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing about the people. And I believe that what I've learned from, Adam Coleman, Andy Williams, and a video I'm about to play here shortly, because it is Black History Month. And I want to talk about the strength of powernomics. And I don't think people fully get that, because Dr. Boyce Watkins talks about it. And I don't see a lot of politicians talking about Dr. Claude Anderson and talking about Black economics and talking about the power of the Black dollar and understanding that, because we need our own Black Americans. That's not a race. That is actually an ethnic group. We can debate on this all day if you want to. Black Americans is not a race. It's not a color. That's an ethnic. That is an ethnic group. Black Americans is an ethnic group. Because Dr. Claude Anderson even explains this as us being our own ethnic group, for the simple fact of that when you look in our lineage, right, beyond of what scientists, supposedly science is supposed to tell us, right? But who tells us this stuff? Who indoctrinates us with science to think that a certain way, right? It's a supremacy, right? It was about white supremacy. And that's what people fail to realize, because when we look up our lineage, we see numbers. You don't see a Johnson coming in off the slave ship. You see a number when they got off the island. So being an immigrant from Africa, and you, after, the Emancipation Proclamation and them ending slavery here, if you didn't come in with it and you knew what your roots were, that's why we are a whole different ethnic group here as Black Americans. Because you got to even think about it, when our ancestors, when our grandma and grandpas, right, and we look back in our lineage, right, they were not from the same tribes. They were not from the same, just like, it's kind of like this, right? When we go on vacation, right, and we have one night stands on spring break, I'm from Minnesota. The girl I might have had sex with is from Virginia, right? It's the same way in Africa when they came back over here, when they enslaved us over here. One was probably Nigerian, Somalian, maybe South African. So you tell me right there, our lineage breaks. It breaks because there isn't Black Americans can only be Black Americans. We can be of Nigerian descent, also Somalian descent. But how are we not our own ethnic group? I really want to understand that, because our birth certificates say what? Go throughout the years, even with the census, because I would love for somebody to say, says Negro. No, it doesn't. Show me a census in the 1800s that they've used anything other than blacks to call African Americans black. Might have been mulatto, might have been in there. They put mixed in there. They put other shit, but blacks have always been blacks. So I would love for somebody to tell me any differently. They don't want us to know who we are. They don't want, that's why they get rid of American history, Black American history. That's why they don't teach us about Black Wall Street. That's why we don't see Black Wall Street. If it was about bettering the Black communities, right? Why do we not have Black Wall Streets in inner cities? But you see Somalian ones, African ones, you see Asian malls, you see Hispanic shopping centers. I don't see no black. I don't see no black malls, because then it's racist, right? Right? It's racist. I don't understand that. I will never understand that. But we get so caught up of being a part of what everybody else is doing that we actually forget about, hey, you know what? When they gonna actually do something for us? And that's what this whole episode is about. And I know I just ranted for like 13 minutes, but I think I really, what we're getting into is important, because what I'm gonna show you today is redlining. What I'm gonna show you is gentrification, all in the name of saying that they're better in our communities, right? So we're going to start this off with Dr. Claude Anderson, and then I'm going to blow your mind a little bit with ShotSpotter information, US fiber information, and show you why inner cities don't even have internet connections, but yet are being spied on by Big Brother.
Definition in the 1500s, it says learning, acquiring, own, and control the land, the tools, the resources, and use other people's labor to enrich yourself. That's what capitalism is. I'm gonna tell it to you again. It means learn how to acquire and control and own the land, the resources and tools, and use other people's labor to enrich yourself. That's capitalism. Now, W.D. Du Bois defined it a little different in 1915. He said that capitalism is like having 3 to 4 years of corn. You eat one, you save one, you sell one, you save the seeds for next year's planting. That's capitalism. Now, in neither of those definitions did any of y'all hear me, and correct me if you heard it. I didn't mention anything about civil rights and social integration. I said it's learning how to acquire wealth, tool, resources, and enrich yourself off of it. But what has happened now in the Black community is through impediments is that we've been bamboozled by a lot of the Black leadership in this country to having Black folk focus strictly on civil rights and social integration. Social integration has failed in this country for Black folk. It's the worst thing that ever happened to Black folk. Black folk went backwards with social integration. What Black folk lost almost everything they had during the process of social integration. Before integration came, and most of my white friends, and again, when I say white friends, see, I got white relatives. Y'all might not know that. And see, they jump on me all the time, but you gotta quit saying those things about us. We're not part of that. But I got half my family want to pass white. I go on, fine, do it. But see, but social integration is a diluting process. It's a watering down process. And before integration, Black people in America had their own businesses. They had their own communities. They had their own schools and churches. They had as a matter of fact, in the Winston-Salem, North Carolina, where I grew up, my family was one of the families that was a part owner of a 4-family operation. We owned the only Black bus line in America, the only one they've ever had. When I say a bus line, I'm not talking about 3 or 4 buses or 10 or 15 buses. We had over 500 buses. We didn't service just the Black neighborhood. We serviced the white neighborhoods too. It was called a Safe Bus Company in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. We took care of the city bus services. In Winston-Salem, the Black community also had 2 cab companies. Why? Because the white community had 2 cab companies. The white community had the Bluebird and the Yellow cabs. Blacks, we had the Harris cab and the Kansas City cabs. We had our own movie theaters, the Lincoln and Lafayette theaters. They had theirs, the Hollywood, the North Carolina theaters, the state theaters. We had our own restaurants and shoe shops and clothing stores and everything. We lost all of that. We even had our own movie theaters. We had the Lincoln and Lafayette theaters. In every city in the United States, Blacks had the 2 movie theaters, the Lincoln and Lafayette theaters. We had movie producing studios, Norman Productions down in Jacksonville, Florida, Rishaw in Chicago, and Hollywood Production, making our own movies. They weren't the best movies, but they were ours. But see, when integration came, it took away everything from us. And unfortunately, it wasn't because it was a conspiracy of whites to do that. It wasn't the whites that did that. It was the NAACP. Now, don't go blaming whites for that. Whites didn't jump up this idea about let's go out and force blacks into integration. You see, when down in McLaren, South Carolina, where I used to live, in McLaren, South Carolina, they filed an original lawsuit, became the desegregation decision in 1954. They weren't filing for social integration. They filed it because the black kids were walking to school every day and the white kids were riding on buses. And in my school, in elementary school, we had to spend the first week every year of school cleaning up the old books. The white schools would send all the old books over to our school. We had to clean them and fix them up, take gum, erase, and get all the dirt and trash off and put tape on them. We got all their hand-me-downs of everything, for equipment, tools, everything. And so when Clinton, South Carolina filed a lawsuit, they filed it based on what? Money, economics. They're saying it's not right. We don't want. They've been talking about social integration. The city, the state, county was paying what? $1 for every black child to go to school and $11 for every white child to go to school. And that's where the problem came from. It was a maldistribution of the resources and the money. And so in 1970, Governor Reuben Askew, who's a good old Southern who I love to death, Reuben called me down and said, Dr. Adams, would you come down here and run my schools, run the state system? I became the coordinator of education for the state of Florida from 1970 to 1976, right at the time of desegregation. And I went to the Department of Education and I said, look, what are y'all gonna do on the desegregation decision? They said, well, what we're gonna do, here's our plan. We're gonna fire the black teachers, fire the black counselors, fire the black administrators, close all the black schools, bus 75% of the black kids to the white schools, and put the rest in special education classes. I said, no, you're not gonna do that. They said, why not? I said, I don't want you to bust the kids, I want you to bust the money and the resources. Leave the black neighborhood, the black schools alone and bust the resources over there. Give them some tennis courts, give them some swimming pools, give them some of the best teachers and best books and learning materials. But again, I got overruled in that by the state legislature. They said the easiest thing for them, they could save money by just letting blacks become guests, G-U-E-S-T, in the white schools. And so consequently, that didn't work. And so we had impediments because our civil rights leaders got bamboozled with that policy in 1867. Then by 1968, it came up again. President Nixon then when he got elected to office, he got a letter from Daniel Moynihan saying, I got a way to shut down the black civil rights movement in the country and shut down the black power movement. He said, what you do, you take the focus in public policy off of black folk and never put it back again. You place it on minority women and immigrants. And so at that point, I was opposed to that, but that's what they did. They shifted the focus, and they call that a benign neglect policy, which means that don't say anything mean about black folk, just pretend that they don't exist. And then they come up with this whole concept called post-racism and a colorblind society, and say the Constitution is colorblind. The Constitution was never colorblind. The Constitution was always very specific, saying you all are going to be slaves. And you all can be owners. The Constitution was never colorblind. And the American dream, what you hear about all the time, was based on anybody coming from Europe. They were advertising all over Europe, come to America, we give you free land and free labor. And they set up a franchising system, make sure anybody came to America and get free land and free labor. Black folk, again, were not in the system. They were underneath the system. They never got the free land. They never got free labor. They were the labor force. And so by 1960, when Moynihan's memo went out, blacks were an obsolete, abandoned labor class. Our black civil rights leaders bought into the concept of focusing now, not on black folk, but on minority, women and children, people of color, multicultural, diversity, anything other than black folk. Now it's moved over to gay and transsexuals. Now I have the dubious honor again. I wrote the first affirmative action plan in the United States. I wrote that in 1970. I wrote it for the state of Florida, approved by Governor Askew and the state cabinet. I didn't write the affirmative action program for everybody. And if I were a white male right now, I'll be mad as hell because the affirmative action plan was not written for everybody. It was written for black people. It was written for a very specific reason. It was written to be corrective action, correcting something.
Wow. Wow. I was muted, but I was over here saying, wow, 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 wow. I never knew that. And what's crazy is the years that he talks about, because I sit there, when I learned about affirmative action, is you first hear about it is the first class in 1971 at Harvard. And who was a part of that class? He's sitting on the Supreme Court justice right now, Clarence motherfucking Thomas. Ain't that about a bitch that this man literally is telling people, and this video is from 1980, in the 80s, some era in the 80s. But it's crazy that he's sitting there talking about how he wrote something to be corrective action and not affirmative. And then even talking about where the focus went away from Black Americans to talking about people of color. And then even man, listen, I want y'all to know this video is from the 80s. And the fact that he's talking about the gay and trans and all that, even back then, should really show y'all something. Because we just talked about it yesterday.
That the government has systematically done to handicap, exploit, misuse, enslave, and beat up on a specific group of people and deny them access to resources. But the Moynihan memo, with a lot of our civil rights leaders supporting it, switched it away from Black folk and switched it to everybody can now be called a minority and everybody entitled to the same benefits. If you're an immigrant that ran across the border last night, you're entitled to the benefits. That's not what it was designed for. Nobody use these broad, ambiguous terms. Minority. What is a minority? Nobody knows. Is that a one-legged man, a blind piano player? What's a minority? Nobody knows. Nobody knows what a minority is. Nobody knows what a people of color is. So when you move into all these broad languages that you cannot measure, you can't identify, doesn't mean anything. And see, if I were a white male right now, I would go get into a minority program. You know why? Because the white male is one of the biggest minorities in the country. He's entitled to go into every minority program you got and get what he needs out of it. We had a Pakistani came up to Washington, D.C. The University of Maryland did the same thing. He was a Pakistani. He went through Africa and came into the United States, and he said he was an African-American. The scholarship program was set up for African-Americans. He says, I'm an African-American. I left Africa, and now I'm in America. He's absolutely right. And all my white friends right here, over here, all of these are African Americans. You know why? Because the first human beings on earth were in Africa. All people radiated out of Africa. Every white person is an African American if he lives in America. He's got African blood in it. Might be go back some quite a distance, and a lot of us even closer than that back in the 1880s. So everybody's an African American. Nobody knows what it is. You can't measure it. And so when we get through the civil rights movement, they asked them, so blacks, what do y'all want? What are you marching for? What do you want? And our civil rights leaders incompetently said, we want something that we can't measure. We want equal opportunity. And so the white community says, abracadabra, you got it. What else do y'all want? They say, well, we want equality. They say, abracadabra, you got it. They said, well, what else do you want? We want freedom. They said, abracadabra, you got it. Now get the hell out of here and don't come back anymore.
Yeah.
They didn't get anything. The civil rights movement got nothing. And every time they got a march, they're marching to Washington, you can ask them, what is it that you're born?
Damn. You know what's crazy? Is he was up there speaking some shit, man. And what's crazy is people won't even listen to that. Listen to what he's saying for the simple fact of it goes against everything that we have been indoctrinated to think. And what's crazy is Malcolm said the same shit. Malcolm said they killed him. You don't see Dr. Claude Anderson on any big mainstream media. You know why? Because he talks a different game. He talks the truth. Because if we're going to sit there and talk about it, I've been said that shit. And literally people will fight all day nailing tooth that the 1964, the 1965 Civil Rights Acts helped us. No, they didn't. They disfranchised Black Americans. It was to actually get rid of us, and people don't even understand that. That man just literally said that even white people are African Americans. Because and you know what's crazy? That people will fight that all day. Go read the Bible, Mr. Christian. Go read the Bible, Mr. Pastor. Because you don't even claim your ethnicity. You claim you're white. What the fuck is white? That's what's crazy. And people won't even see that, but they'll fight nail and tooth while we sitting here arguing over dumbass shit, right? Over about who we gonna vote for, red or blue, just to be focused way off of what we should really be fighting for, right? Is for them to stop writing this bullshit ass legislation, calling us BIPOC, calling us people of color, because at the end of the day, they're right, they're disfranchising us. And here's the end of the day. I really, because I want to get a Republican, a black Republican, an elected black Republican, and I want to ask them a question because you're about to see something that it really shocks me that it hasn't really hit the news yet. It just happened yesterday. That the Republicans now you can are agreeing to do mail-in ballots for this election. And you see different states doing different legislation for even when it comes into mail-in ballots to not even have you don't have to have a house. You know, because one of the things to vote is you got to have an address. You got to have somewhere to live. Well, Minnesota is making that easier. So if you don't even have an address, you can go vote. And I don't have an issue with that, right? Right? But how does that help the black community? And I want to know is, what the fuck are the Republicans doing? Because I thought it was all about Americans. I thought it was all about American democracy. I thought it was this. I thought it was that. No, man, these people do not give a fuck about us. Everybody talking about, oh, we vote Trump and he gonna shut down the border. What president has ever actually shut down the border? The motherfuckers built a wall. He wanted to build a wall. Like, this shit is, we over here. And then what's crazy, because all I could think about when I used to see the videos of people climbing up the walls is going to the local YMCA and getting on the rock climbing machine, the wall, and be like, let me see if I can do it. If they, you know, them the immigrants do it so easily. Let me see if I can do it so easily. Because I'll tell you right now, and I'd be joking about this shit, but I'm really starting to think that I'm gonna be real honest of taking my ass to Mexico, walking across the border and acting and talking about I'm from somewhere else, and see how much help I get from being a fake migrant to being a real American, and see how much help I actually get and see. Because I bet you, I guarantee myself, oh yeah, here you go, debit card. Yeah, what else you need? You need car? You need license? You need me no speak no Spanish. I would just speak no English. No English. That's all I would say. No English. No English. Oh, here go money. I'm like, okay, bet. Man, and that's crazy because that's all you see is these people be having handed envelopes. You see the Chicago mayor giving out millions and millions. You see the New York mayor giving out millions. You see the Minnesota legislators writing to give out money to these people. And I say these people because they're not Americans. We don't ever want to help Americans. And I'm going to show y'all something else while we're talking about all of this white supremacy and racism. I'm going to show y'all racism, right, that gets put in our faces every day in inner city areas. Oh, I got to share the screen. Hold on. Because this shit blew my mind, man. It blew my mind. So, hold on. I'm going to show y'all a post. So there was an article that came out yesterday from wired.com, and it literally showed, I guess they're leaked documents exposing extensive
reach of the company formerly known as ShotSpotter's network of sensors. It reveals the location of 25,580 gunshot detection microphones. Now, this is Minneapolis, right? This is North Minneapolis. That's the Mississippi. Oh, wait. Yeah, that's the, no, wait, that might be that. No, yeah, that's the Mississippi. I think that's the Mississippi. I think that's the river. Or maybe that's the highway. That might be the highway. Because I think that, well, yeah, because the Mississippi is by there, though. Let me stop like I'm going to know my geographic. But yeah, this is North Minneapolis right here. And you see all of these microphones in North Minneapolis and a little bit in South Minneapolis, right? But I can tell you this all the way goes all the way up. This right here, this ending right here, it's probably 53rd, right? Because then you go to 54th, you get, that's Brooklyn Center, so that's not Minneapolis. But so I would think right here is the cutoff, and that would be, so I'm thinking that's 53rd right there. But then let me show y'all another map, and this is USI, who does fiber optic wiring for internet. Damn, but I'm not gonna be able to make this bigger. Is that, can y'all, you're not being able to see it, damn. But literally this is their map of North Minneapolis. It's the same map, and this is where they have wiring for internet, right? But look at North Minneapolis. Look at North Minneapolis. There's you see barely any green, right? Look at that. Oh man, I could do it right here. This better. See, look at that. North Minneapolis right here. What do you see? You don't see any green of wiring, right? So I said, I made a tweet this morning. I said, crazy. Why is it that we have microphones all over North Minneapolis, but not fiber wires for internet? But they want to spy on us. That's what's crazy, because this is their map of where they have wiring, fiber optic wiring for internet access. Look at that shit. Look at that. And then you go look at the ShotSpotter. Here goes the ShotSpotter map. Again, how is that not insane, man? And people won't even call it out. Because look at that. So these are the fixed locations for ShotSpotter mics. This is also the same map of areas where the USI has not installed fiber. Look at that shit. Same area, man. And then they wonder why the kids are there's problems in our community. But hold up, right? Because you look at these maps, and I want y'all to do it yourself. If you, regardless of wherever you live at, if it is Chicago, if it is Detroit, if it is wherever you reside in, you definitely need to look redlining up. Look up where the microphones are at, right? Look up where, if there's the fiber optic wiring for your internet. Look it up. I want people to, right? Yeah. So this is what's crazy. So you had some, and this is an individual from Cleveland, Ohio, who literally states that there's absolutely no surprise that the Cleveland ShotSpotter map is also the Cleveland redlining map. Tell me that's not crazy. That's crazy. And we sit there and we have to live in this. And then we sit there and we have to listen to the Latresa Vitals. We got to listen to the Jeremiah Ellisons, the Bobby Champions, the Jerry McAfees, the Nikema Levy Armstrongs. We got to listen to the everybody sit there and tell, oh, everything's good. No, it's not, man. When are y'all actually going to call this shit out? When are you going to be not afraid to call out the system? When are you not going to be afraid to call out your slave master, right? Because that's what I really want to know. They sit there and they say that they write things to make it better for us. How? Please, when I can show you all day it doesn't. And I can show you on paper. But you're not going to be able to show me because you know what's going to happen. You're going to get emotional. You're going to call me names. You're not even going to want to have an educational discourse, thoughtful discussion. Because you're going to get emotional. And that is sick as hell that we literally, that's why we can't get nowhere. Because once you start to point out facts to people, they get butthurt. They get in their feelings. And that's what's crazy because I deal with it all day. Regardless if I got people that are supposed to be talking about their Black Americans. Why are you sticking up for a BIPOC organization? Why are you sticking up for a Nigerian-led organization when I'm calling them out because they're supposed to be speaking up for Black Americans and they're not? And I get that all the time. I get that all the time. I see teachers coming out on Twitter talking about IEPs and how bogus they are. Why do you still work for a school district that fucks over our kids? First of all, because you're white and your kid, and it doesn't involve your kids, so they don't give a fuck. That's crazy. I don't understand it of how you got a whole department in the Minnesota Department of Human Services. You know what? Fuck that. I'm going to show y'all because people need to see this shit, man. And it blows my mind. Oh, yeah. So this, man, is people really need to pay attention, man. Because if this don't show y'all what kind of corruption we are dealing with in Minnesota, it's crazy. Oh, thank y'all for putting up there because they asked for, and I shared it a couple of times too. So this post, and if you are on Twitter, please go follow this page. So it is the Minnesota Department of Human Service Employees. We are 193 current staff members of the Minnesota Department of Human Services with pride and commitment towards our work with goals of public transparency. This was a page that started last year. Even the department, our American Experiment, which is, and what's crazy is because you have news organizations or like journalistic organizations that have more of a Republican mindset. So they don't get as, then you have the majority who have the masses who are Democratic will sit there and say, oh, they're racist and oh, they're fear mongering. And the whole time, really, they're telling the truth. It's just that because of the certain wordage that they use, we're indoctrinated and programmed to think that those words are racist or that there's something wrong with those words instead of just thinking on our own accord because we're so quick to call people, oh, they're racist. No, some people just have Negrophobia, right? Some people, what's crazy is if, because somebody, I was like, damn, you don't like no kind of spiders? But they're only just scared of one type of spider. So when you call that arachnophobia, because they're scared of one type of spider, they're not scared of all type of spiders. Because you wouldn't call them you just hate spiders. Oh, nigga, like I'm really afraid, right? I really have a fear. But I could still be okay with some spiders, just like it's at the end of the day when it comes to being a racist. And why I tend to I more use the term Negrophobia is because you always got them people that say they got that one black friend, but still are comfortable calling people nigger. Oh, I got black friends, nigger. Be like, damn, okay, but okay, so then you're not racist. You just have Negrophobia because you're afraid. And I know this makes no sense, but it kind of does. If people would just listen to the analogy, whatever the word is. I'm not the most educated. So thank you for your support, everyone. We are hopeful that by sharing evidence of corruption and wrongdoing, we can improve health and human services for Minnesota. Over the last year, we reached out to our leaders, including Tim Walz, Chris Schmitter, who have chosen to ignore concerns they don't care. Now, what's crazy is when you literally talk about real shit that goes on in communities, it doesn't really get no play, right? People don't like to share it. They don't like to read it. But let it be about some drama. Let it be about how a woman sat there and spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on a guy that lied to her and she got married to him. Or we'll sit there and watch podcasts or reality TV shows that, oh, who fucking who, right? Who sucking who dick? Who eating who ass? But yet when it comes to educating so that we can liberate and actually live unified and in unity, we ignore that type of shit when it comes to education because we prefer to live in the bullshit. We prefer to find out who Sexy Red is talking about, or who Cardi's talking about, or who 6ix9ine is snitching on, or, oh my God, did you guys see that Amber Rose and CJ Stroud, the quarterback for the Houston Texans, are dating? Oh my God. No, but did you see that there was a bill just introduced yesterday that they wanted to really just make it easier to really disfranchise our Black American community? Did you see that bill that Mike Freeberg put up yesterday that he introduced, or Wednesday? Did you see that bill? Or did you see the bill that Leah Finke put up that wants to put money for Minnesota Department of Employment and put a fund to actually recruit outside of Minnesota to bring more trans people here? Or did you see that that Kim Hicks bill that she introduced this week about Somalian women of color in the construction industry? Did you see that bill? Did you? Oh, you didn't, but I bet you know who Cardi B was fucking the other night. I bet you know who was sitting there going in at each other on Clubhouse or TikTok, right? I bet you know who. Oh, did you see the Ruby Rose leaks? I don't even know who the fuck Ruby Rose is. I don't give a fuck about no Ruby Rose. Like, come on, man. Y'all gotta cut it out. What are we really out here for? Are we really out here for the empowerment of our communities? Or is this about clout, fame, and like followers? Because I actually want to feel the change in my community. I want to feel it. I want to be able to see it. Because we've been lied to. We've been bamboozled. The whole 500 years we've been here. It's just like that whole thing when I went back to Charlie Brown, man. They put up that ball, and as soon as we get close to it, ready to kick, and we get ready, we're about to kick it, we go through the follow-through, it ain't there no more. And then we ask, where did it go? I don't know, boo-boo. And then we over here looking stupid. Talking about, I feel kind of like right now being a Black American in politics is kind of like being a Vikings fan. Like there's always next year, buddy. That's how I feel. There's always next year. Fuck that. What about now? I want to win now. Why I always gotta wait? Why I gotta wait for everybody else to eat before we eat? Because we ain't never been given no free land. We haven't been given no free opportunities, no wealth opportunities, because we sit there and they want to call it Black neighborhoods and Black communities. But what is Black owned over there? The corner stores ain't Black owned. When you go to the corner store in North Minneapolis, you're not going to no damn Black owned. Because what's Black owned? Ain't none of that Black owned. None of it. None of it. That's what is crazy to me, because I am a Black American. I know where my lineage comes from. And I would love, like, for real, because there is a difference. I'm a Black American. Just like there's Somali Americans, Nigerian Americans, right? I'm a Black, or African Americans, whatever they want. I'm Black American. There's a difference, right? There's a difference. I'm okay with eating hot water cornbread. Cornbread, good, damn. I'm definitely going to get some. Shout out to Cheap Charlie's in Rochester, though, man. I'll see you in a couple hours to get my French toast platter. Put cheese on the scrambled eggs, cheddar, sausage, and a half order of biscuits and gravy. Thank you. And coffee. Nah, I've already had. I don't know. I only had 1 cup this morning, so man, I might have 2. I might have another one. I don't know yet. But for real, man. For real. Because you know what's crazy is we always talk, especially growing up, I used to talk shit about them. I used to talk shit about them, the Mexicans and the Hispanics or the Asians in my community, right? Because I remember living over South Minneapolis, when we lived right down the street from Children's Hospital. And there was a house across the street. There was actually a couple houses across the street, but one, there was an Asian family, and there was like 5 different families in like this 4-bedroom house, though, right? But that's how they sat there, and then you started to look at it. One family move out, and they went to go buy their own shit, and then boom, bam. Then you go to the newest Chinese restaurant. You be like, damn, you was just, oh wow, oh, okay, I see how that is. Damn. Be like, but what about us? Because they sit there, and just like it was with the 40 acres and a mule, they sat there and put that football there and tell us to kick it. It's all yours. And then as soon as we get up there to kick it, took that bitch away. Maybe next time. We'll get you next time. We'll get you next round. Right, yes, at Abbott Northwestern Hospital. At Abbott. Yes. I used to talk about that. You know what's crazy is every time we go, I used to go down it, because right there, it's not there no more. Which is crazy, because I always thought that was crazy that there was a McDonald's inside a hospital. Inside the hospital. I was like, what the fuck? But hey, that motherfucker used to be busy as hell, though, because you had Stewart Park right across the street. On the other side was the park. And yeah, man, that just brings me, because what's crazy is I used to live right down the street from there, man. I took Ashley over there once. Actually, what's crazy, Ashley and Jen been over there. We smoked in the Stewart parking lot across from Hans. I went there too. I went to Hans Christian. Yeah. I went to Laura Ingalls Wilder. I went to Hans Christian. I went to Sanford, North, and then South. And then the rest of it, I went to, my high school was Duluth, and then Rochester. Yeah, damn. Yeah, man. I same area. And it's crazy, because I look at that area now, and then looking at it back then, it's that area should be more flourishing, that area, because that was a proud area. Everybody knew who their neighbors was. Everybody knew who each other was, right? You couldn't go to Powderhorn Park or, and go and get in trouble somewhere. Falwell, okay. Patrick Henry. Anyway, it's not called Henry anymore. They call it something else now, man. And I guess it's whatever. Oh, it's damn, what did they just switch the name to? I forgot what they just switched the name to. Damn. I can't even think of the name right now, what they just sued it. But I was like, it's whatever, because they do need to be switching things, because why should we keep on honoring people that didn't like us? You know what I'm saying? And I get it was different time, different era. But y'all sat there and tell us that Aunt Jemima's syrup was racist. You told us that the pancake mix was racist. That Uncle Ben's rice was, we were, like, but then you look at it, we still go to Walmart every day. We go to Target every day, Starbucks, because we support that capitalism, right? And that's the one crazy thing of it is, how can we boycott something, a daily necessity that we need? Because we don't have that in the Black American community. We don't have that in our neighborhoods that are Black owned, that are Black American owned, because they'll just say Black owned. But then when you go into the store or into the restaurant and you be like, what kind of Black is you? I'm Mandingo Warrior. Be like, damn, what? That ain't Black, nigga. That you African. Shut the fuck up. You know what I'm saying? Like, tell me you Mandingo Warrior. Nigga, that ain't got nothing to do about America. Nigga, get your ass back over there. Like, and I get it. Everybody want to be us, but let us be us first. Damn, can we like get, that's what's crazy. They sit there and claim to be us and get handed everything to them first, and then we get the crumbs. We get the actual Black Americans, the actual American descendants of slavery get the crumbs from Democrats and Republicans. Because when a nigga thinks independently, we are already indoctrinated and programmed to dislike them niggas. Instead of just seeing the shit for what it really is, that nigga telling the truth. Telling the truth. But we too scared to stand on our own. That's why I fucks with Andy Williams, the hood candidate. Because he's trying to educate people. You don't need a political party. You don't need them. They need us. And until people actually realize that, we're going to continually be defeated. Because we don't need them. They need us. We the people, I swear I wish people read the goddamn Constitution, man, the preamble. We don't need them. They need us. And that's what's crazy is because if I fully did understand it, if people, instead of boycotting or having sit downs or protesting and marches, why don't y'all boycott a vote? Why don't we do that? Boycott the vote. Why don't nobody in America vote until we actually get what the fuck we want? Let's just shut America down. Because they'll do it for COVID where you can't do shit. Let's shut it down till we start getting listened to, right? Stop going to work. Stop paying your taxes. I bet you them niggas. You know what's crazy, Black America? I guarantee we stop going to work, right? Stop going to work. Stop paying our taxes. Start farming. Just start going out there growing on farmland. I guarantee it, the motherfuckers are going to take us serious. I promise you they're going to take us serious because that's why they got rid of Black Wall Street. That's why we had the bloody red summer. How many years over and over again, right? Because when have the best success stories of Black Americans that we read about all before 1965? That's for damn sure. That's for damn sure. And I didn't even know. What's crazy is, Robert, thank you, because I didn't even know who Franz Boas was until I started listening to Dr. Claude Anderson. And it's all about being selfless and focusing on your individual. And it's not even about, I guess if you want to put it in today's times, it's really about focusing on individual ethnicity. So basically, because they integrated us like a motherfucker. They integrated to where we are indoctrinated in thinking to think the way they think, to believe what they believe. And I was going to play a video about Reza Islam, and how he was saying that white people know Black Americans better than Black Americans do. I think it was something like that. And I was like, wow. So I watched it a little bit, but I want to get into a little bit more context of what he was talking about. So I'm going to watch the whole video and not just that little snippet. so I get a full context of what he's actually meaning by that before I make a ignorant ass comment about it, and he didn't actually mean it that way. But yeah, I definitely didn't know who Franz Boas was, and I do, I feel that when we know better, we do better, and the only way that you can know better is to learn, is to re-educate, because that's what it's gonna take. It's gonna take us re-educating ourselves. It's gonna take us to actually be patient and understand that some of us don't have the capacity to sit down and just listen and learn, because we do learn at different levels, because it's crazy is I learned a lot from Robert, and I've learned a lot from other individuals, but it, for me, is the way that I've been able to teach myself how to learn is a certain way, right? You can't, I'm a straight to the point of what we're kind of talking about person. I like to get straight to the point. Point me in the direction. I don't want the lead around. He did at the end say, I'm gonna have to find that. Send that to me so I can watch that today. And when I come back Wednesday, that's because I will be taking the Monday and Tuesday off. Now I was going to talk about that at the end, because I'm only going to go about another 19 minutes, 18 minutes today. Got stuff to do. It's Friday. Just got paid. Hey. No, I just want some cheap Charlies, honestly. But back to the subject, though. And I didn't even get into the Ricky Cobb and Lundgren situation. But basically what I wanted to talk about that is they say so much about truth and transparency, but always want to hide the truth. They always figure out ways to bamboozle and get one over on us, and we allow it because number one, we're undereducated, but yet we have Ben Crumps, we have the Nakimas, we have all these other so-called educated coons, but yet we don't get nowhere. It's because they don't fight for the embetterment and the empowerment of us. It's all to disfranchise us and keep us them in control. That's the one crazy thing that nobody wants to talk about. This is all about control. And that's where I talk about, these are both, to me, Democrats and Republicans, and even the Green Party is, to me, is totalitarian regimes, regardless of how you want to look at it, because they want control and they feel like their way is the best way, instead of it that, you know what, if we the people focused on we the people, that's who's better for all, because they want control. Oh no, it's either our way or no way. And that's what you see in the Minnesota right now. You don't see any solid policies going through. You see all Democrat policies going through, because any Republican policies that come up are amendments, they get voted down. They barely get debated on. They just shut them out. How is that democracy when only one side is ruling? Isn't that what the explanation of a totalitarian regime is? It's to silence and control the opposition. Huh? Isn't that what that's about? Looking at, so how aren't they blocking people's freedom of speech? Because when you literally don't think the way that they think or talk the way that they talk, they silence you. They shut you out. I get this with everybody. It's the same way with Georgia Fort. It's the same thing with Leslie Redmond, Miss Margaret, Camo J, D.A. Bullock, and KFAI? Yeah, when you don't talk the language, right, that they talk, because they're indoctrinated to believe a certain way, to fight a certain way. Because I'll tell you right now, I've never been disrespected out of my name by so many so-called educated ass motherfuckers, especially when it comes down to being educated, because they get in their emotions, they get in their feelings. But I'm supposed to be the ignorant one when I'm not calling you any names. It's the same thing with Sir Major. Every time I call this man out for the fraud and the scamming that he's done to our communities, he want to call me a bitch, send his little followers, minions at me, in which I don't care about any of them, because I know who he keeps around, re-ups. As much as I talk about re-ups, I'm surprised he hasn't blocked me yet. But I will continually, in anybody that supports re-ups and Sir Major and doesn't call them out on their bullshit for embezzling and scamming the black community over George Floyd's name, but they want to call out a comedian. Come on, man, that shit was all for clout, man. That shit was all for fame. That's what's crazy, because if we was going to really stand on business, George Zimmerman should be gone, right? Ahmaud Arbery's killer should be gone. Ricky Cobb's killer should be gone. So I don't want to hear all of that, because all they all out here doing is that kumbaya. Well, I'm gonna go down and shut down the highway. The fuck is that gonna do? They didn't do shit. That's what I don't understand it. If we was really gonna do some shit, let's stand on business. Let's stand on these policies. Let's stand on this legislation. Because most niggas don't even want to have that conversation, because they're not up there. They're not up there. They don't even know what the state constitution says. They don't even know what a city charter is. It is a lot of deflection. That's literally all they do to us, bro, is deflect us. It's all to get us to think a certain way, to say that we don't see the bigger picture. And you know what's crazy, Mike? I'm going to be 100 with you, bro. And I don't think I've ever told you this. But even when it came down to my resolution and how I tried to gear that directly towards Black Americans and how they made me write BIPOC and include the Native American community in that, I wanted that to be all about Black Americans. And they did that. Becky, Evan, they did that shit, man. And I'm like, you know what? That's why I asked Mayor Wilson to veto that, because of the simple fact, when I figured out what they were doing, I figured you knew, but I wanted to admit it, because you know what's crazy is I've been ashamed to. I think I did tell you that though, but I've been ashamed to even admit that publicly, that even I didn't even understand the wordplay, because I wanted to help my community, my Black American community, because when I found out stories about Eli Fields and Jeremiah Patterson, and even the young man that was lynched. No, I am, bro, because I got played, and then I got mad for over stupid shit, to be honest. And I, instead of looking at the bigger picture and just trying to educate people and being patient like I am now, we could have got so much further, because I literally would. Man, I can't understand that. We should be way further than what we are, man. And it's crazy, because all I see is it's Black History Month, and I see more talk about African diaspora than them trying to educate about what happened during Black Wall Street, and how there was a Black bank, and how, just like how Dr. Claude Anderson said earlier, how his family owned not 10 buses, but a bus that bussed everybody. They had a whole bus system. Why don't we have things like that? Why? That's what's crazy to me, because we got to go to Chase, we got to go to Wells Fargo, which are Jewish banks. Why can't we have nigga banks? And even that was crazy is I had to shut somebody down the other day, because I'm moving forward, brother.
I'm moving forward. You know, I had to get into it with, I shouldn't say I had to get into it, but I shut them down because they were saying, oh, we have a black bank. I said, no, we don't. Look up the group that owns that bank and look who owns that foundation. That brother ain't just like the NAACP. They want to say that's for black people. No, it's not. Because if you look at it, right, and as we says, Dr. Claude Anderson states, everybody's African American, right? And what does NAACP mean? Because they talk about African Americans. Huh? National Advancement Association of Colored People. Colored. That was never about, NAACP was not about black Americans. And I stand on that today. And that's why you don't see the NAACP now. Most presidents or directors of the NAACP are not black Americans. They are U.S. citizens, yes, right? They took their citizenship tests, but they weren't born here. They weren't born here. Just like our so-called black leaders. You know, we have more African-born state legislators than black American state legislators in Minnesota. Make that make sense. But yet, they're the first ones to tell us that there's racism in Minnesota, but yet they prosper off of affirmative action. They prosper off of DEI. All while black Americans are the ones that suffer. Because we're so quick to bunch us in with each other, with everybody else, instead of actually standing on business. We don't stand on business. And that's why they didn't like the Black Panthers. That's why they didn't like Malcolm. Because they stood on business, Fred Hampton. Because when niggas talk this shit, this nigga talk, they don't like that shit. They call it militant. Oh, we got us another militant nigga. Because you know how many times I got called a militant nigga? You too extreme, bro. You too extreme. No, I'm going to by any means necessary, nigga, because they'll do by any means necessary to quiet us, to silence us. They'll kill us. Bear spray us, pepper spray us, rubber bullets. Nigga, but you worried about the way I talk? While we out here getting slapped, punched, hit. And you worried about what a nigga say, but you're not worried about actions. The fuck out of my face. That's what's crazy. Niggas, we get more worried about wordage, right? Niggas get worried about getting called a bitch. I see what Charleston be saying when he's like, it's a privileged mentality. It definitely is, man. And I'm blessed, man. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? Do I have fortune? Do I have tons of money? Nope. I'm still happy. You know, it's crazy. I work for one of the richest companies in America. And go do slave work. I move millions of dollars of product a day to get paid pennies. Million. And I know what it is. I got bills to pay though. And I'm not going to do it off the backs of my community. You know what I'm saying? I did it in ways of I had on my clothing line. I do music now. I do different types of writings. I have a podcast, and that doesn't make me any money. I gotta work. I gotta go punch a clock for somebody else and move $1 million product a day to pay so that I could be able to educate, to do what I feel like helps my community, and that's education, so that we can see the things that are going around us and that we can call it out and stop it, because we can stop it, right? We can stop it, but we got to be able to face it and rise and not forget about it and run, because that's what they have us doing, is they just want us to forget about it and we run from it. Why are we rising instead of running? Why we all want to be track stars? Because let's rise from it. Let's rise from it. They say that talking about reparations is a scary conversation. Why? Because when it comes to giving money to Israel, it's not hard. When giving money to Ukraine, them conversations ain't hard. When is doing the right thing hard? Because you do that all the time. They say war is hard, but I don't see conversations, because when it comes down to money, they pass it off. When it comes to weapons, it's never a hard conversation. But when it's some reason, when it comes to talking about American descendants of chattel slavery, it's always a problem. Why is that? Why is it such a hard thing to talk about Black Americans? Why? Because they want to erase us. No, you're a person of color. No, I'm not. And I will continually say this all day to the NAACP, to Tawanda Burks, to Yammy Bear, to Pastor Crockett. I am not a person of color. And please stop using the term Black for just everybody when they're not Black. Please use their ethnic group. Please stop bunching us all together, because my people are suffering. While you say you fight for Black Americans, stop it, because you don't. You fight for everyone. Your intentions are not for Black Americans. They're for people of color. So I'm going to leave it off at that today, man. And I want everybody to have a great Friday. And again, I will not be here Monday and Tuesday. So I will be back Wednesday, February 28th. So I hope everybody enjoys their weekend. Enjoy your Monday, enjoy your Tuesday, and get out and enjoy the weather. If you're in Minnesota, get out and enjoy the weather this weekend, man. It's supposed to be nice. It's supposed to be in the 60s today. I'm hoping I can get this head cold. My wife, got me over taking allergy meds, and I got runny nose, or the stuffed nose, runny nose, whatever. I guess whatever minute it wants to do something different. With that being said, man, I hope everybody has a great weekend. I hope you have a great rest of your Friday. And I will see you guys Wednesday, man. Win or fail, freedom or jail, heaven or hell. Wish me well. Y'all have a great one.
Urban conservative.